The MX Vice Show.
All right, everybody, welcome to episode 153 of the MX Vice Show. We have another action-packed show ready for today, as I'm joined by the great man in Lorenzo Resta again. But before we welcome him, we'd like to thank Parts Europe for sponsoring this one. Parts Europe distributes spare parts, accessories, and rider equipment for all motorbike segments in Europe. We support the sport. Tagline is fortified through the Thor and Moose house brands and their support of world elite MX riders like Blanchard, Prado, Langenfelder, Guadagnini, Jonas, Bogus, and 9 times world champion Thor ambassador Tony Cairoli. Your Parts Europe dealer has access to all the big brands for your motocross and enduro bike. Necken, Pro Circuit, FMF, ODI, Cycro, Renthal, Recluse, and many, many more are in stock and ready to be shipped. Check out their website at partseurope.eu or contact your local Parts Europe dealer. With a dealer network of over 10,000 shops, we're sure there is one close to you. All right, Lorenzo, thanks again for joining us, mate. It's been a little while since we've had a chat, but it was a massive year for you and it's been pretty busy still leading up to it. So how are you? And I'm sure the fans are great to get you back on.
Yeah, that's always a pleasure. Yeah, it's been a while. You know, it's a kind of a moment of the season where, I had a few stuff to do, of course, with EICMA and all those stuff. But there is also a moment where after a long time on the field, you like also to take a little bit, to make a step back and to look from a little bit further what is happening, because otherwise you need to de-intoxicate, from a long season. Really exciting, really nice. Still, probably the next one will be even better, as things look really, really, really good for many reasons. So, yeah, it's time to recharge the batteries, I would say.
Yeah, mate, it's been a massive season all round, and it really stretches out with the WSX and obviously the Australian Supercross series only finishing a couple of weeks ago. So, it's really good to talk to you again, mate. It's always a pleasure to get you on, and even the fans and even Paul Piercy, the stats master at MX Vice, he's definitely looking forward to this one. We've got some stats coming out with him tomorrow as well, so he says all the best too, mate. So just tell us a little bit about the last sort of month, I guess. How was your role at EICMA? Very busy time of year there. So much going on, and obviously being an Italian and Italy, you're a man in demand for sure. And how was that for you?
Yeah, EICMA is kind of the moment that you wait for the 1 year, and then when you arrive there, it's a kind of a big washing machine. You enter there, you start turning around for 1 week. So I spent almost a week there, 6 days, really busy. But it's always a pleasure. You meet so many people, and there's so much stuff to do. That is, it's amazing. There are a few moments where I followed Tony, for example, during a few of his meetings, stuff like that. And it's amazing because you run around, actually really run around to behind him or in front of him just to protect him a little bit. So that's a kind of, I can't say bodyguard work, but it seems like. And on the other hand, I'm always busy with the Motolive experience. That is where the area where we do races that are really nice, honestly. We had the European Supercross Championship final. We had the International Italia Supercross finals and many more races. The news this year was the Maxi Enduro Trophy. And that was quite a cool one and next year will be even better because this year we had 3 factory bikes. Was KTM with Johnny Aubert. They were there officially. Then Alessandro Botturi, that is a specialist for Dakar, and he was there with the factory Yamaha. And then there was Antoine Meo with the factory Desert X from Ducati. And it was honestly to look at those monsters, twin cylinders, Maxi Enduro, fighting in a little arena. In the sand and jumping so high and going so fast. It was 1 versus 1 duel, and it was honestly so cool. I think the crowds were really mad about, because it's like if you bring a Formula One in I don't know, in a park in a city, you know. So it's really, of course, not the specific ground where they give their best with the bike, but in the meantime it's really spectacular. So that was a cool one. So yeah, it was a busy weekend, and going around also for the Gas Bedini Factory Juniors that finally was announced as a Factory Junior team. That's a big program, because it's a big step for the team. They're still, I mean, they are doing already preparation for next year with 2 riders. That's the new Danish kid, Mads Fredso, that is looking really well. So at the moment, they're just building up the base for the riders, the physical base with training, and they start now training a little bit with the bikes, doing some technical stuff before then pushing for the speed with the new year. But so it has been a really busy time, but now everything is finalized, and I have to say that this project looks really well. The bike was exposed for the first time at EICMA. That was Valerio Lata's bike, and that's also was nice for him, nice for the sponsors. And I have to say also that all the sponsors that were with us, they keep to stay on board, and that's always the sign that you have been working in the right way well. And I have to say thanks to the KTM group for, of course, they trust in the team, in the people who works in the team and in the project, because now the team is the junior team for the Dakar instructor. So it means that they will try to build up the youngest rider that were then going to the Dakar team, if of course they deserve it. So, for example, to give you an example, if Valerio will do pretty well during the next EMX 250 season, fighting for the title or winning the title, or just express himself as with the potential he is able to show, then it's possible that he will get a place in the factory team. If not, maybe in another factory team, still in the group. But the project is really to work alongside with the factory Red Bull Gas team, and to work with them to provide them with the best young talents available on the market for Gas brand. So it's quite a big responsibility, but Joaquin Furbetta is doing a great job. Honestly, so it's deeply involved, and everyone in the team that is growing, of course, because there are more needing from like workers, mechanics, and so everything is growing and building up in a nice way. And it's always a really nice satisfaction, when you have been working behind the scene a little bit and try to fix the right connection with everything, and at the end everything is coming together in the right way. Even if you stand a little bit behind, as I'm doing it, it's a big satisfaction. So I'm really proud about this, and I'm honestly even more proud about the huge step that Joaquin have made by himself, from being a rider to being a team manager, a proper team manager that is able to take decisions and to work in the right direction.
Awesome, mate. Well said. It's really exciting times ahead, and there's certainly been a lot of gas stuff in the news lately. Obviously, Marc-Antoine Rossi announced for the Carly team in MX2 he's going to be an absolute hot shot, isn't he, mate? We've seen what he can do in EMX 250 and in MX2 as well this year in France, and he's just an absolute talent, isn't he? One of those rare talents we've discussed in the past. Just really exciting to see what he can do. Fully expect him to be mixing it up in the top 5, top 10 from the off. And I guess the big gas news is obviously Prado doing the first 3 rounds of Supercross, mate. We've spoken heaps about it. There's been so many rumors. He's been doing a lot of media teasing all about it. So it's going to be fascinating to see how that pans out. And there's a sort of like a pretty confident in himself to obviously feel that he's up to it. At really not much time. Obviously he did it all those years ago when he was really young, but obviously that little bit of training, he felt confident. He felt like he's up to it. Obviously, like we always say, it's one thing riding it. The next thing's racing Supercross and those those intimidating cauldrons like it'll be at A1, mate. It's going to be so much on his plate, and it's going to be a massive event, isn't it, mate? I don't know if you plan on going there, but it's going to be huge, the buzz at A1. But do you think he's made the right decision? I guess you've got to admire the bravery of attacking that challenge, and he doesn't need to do it yet. And I was speaking to Jason Thomas, and he was saying maybe you should just focus on the MXGP because it's a lot to take on and then go to race. Maybe do it 100%, like finish the MXGP season, then just fully focus on it. Give yourself a whole season to sort of attack it, because it's not like he's going 250 class, he's going straight 450 class, so the step's massive, mate. But I suppose he's got to be commended for the bravery and sort of rising to the challenge. So your take on some of those gas guys, and obviously the Prado decision, which is fascinating.
Yeah, it's fascinating, as you say. Well said, because it's not every day that you see this. And if you look, for example, of the decision that was made by Tom Vial to go to USA to try to be involved in Supercross, and you see the results at the end that are at the moment not like super astonishing. It's not. There's absolutely not a domination. There's even some struggle still to get the job done, as we saw also in Paris with Tom. That wasn't the easiest thing to do. But then there is a sort of course, dream that comes true, and I think for many riders, not all, but many riders, the dream is still to go to USA to race one day in Anaheim, to race one day in places like that in front of a fantastic crowd, and being a part of this incredible show. Because what they miss because I'm asking to myself sometimes, I'm always a little bit sad when I see our talents going there, from Musken to Ferrandis, from Roxen to the Lawrence brothers, even if they are not European, like for the Lawrence. I'm always a little bit sad because we miss them. That's for sure. Imagine if we had an MXGP season in 450 with Cairoli, Musken, Roxen, Fevre, Geyser, all those talents, Seawer, and all the guys that were going down to America. I mean, not down, but going to America racing. It could have been like, I don't know, an MXGP of the nation at every race, something incredible. But then, of course, there's this kind of dream going to America. It's still a dream for many. This kind of opportunity of also transforming your talent and your skills into huge money. And this is a big difference. Of course, the top talented rider in Europe, they're not riding for free. There are contracts with 1 million euros or more. But I think that compared to USA, there's a difference of also popularity and a difference of what the sport can give you back, because you give a lot to the sport, but then being a part of such a big show, I think is a kind of reward that you cannot buy. When you enter a stadium and you're there with yourself in front of, I don't know, 80,000 people cheering for you or for someone else, it's different than going to, I don't know, Mantova and doing a GP in front of 5,000 people with a great paddock sometime or stuff like that, So there's a kind of dream that is to be a part of something that is bigger than what you are used to. And I think that Jorge had this dream, he said, when he was a kid, but he's also someone that is understanding that is probably the right moment to do it. Doing those 3 races, I was asking to myself as a former team manager, if it happens to you, will you allow your rider to go in there and racing 3 Supercross events in the main class 1 month before the beginning of the championship? My first answer was honestly, no, I would not do it. As for me, it's not acceptable, because the risk is really high, because everything can happen, and you don't have under control the situation. You're not there. Is it with another team, with other people, other mechanics? So there's a lot behind Jorge here in Europe. There's a big team, there's a factory, there's families that are working and depending on this work. So personally, my first answer would have been no, I would not send you there. Then I think that we have to use a different way of measuring the stuff, because Jorge achieved everything in Europe and wanted to go there, and the KTM group in general, the peer mobility group, I would say, to include all the brands, will need good riders there, because they're suffering a little bit. The program with KTM looks really nice now in the main class. With the youngster, I think they're still struggling a little bit with all the brands, so they really need to bring back the attention on what they do in America. So yeah, I think the feeling for example, for Pete Bayer is like, oh man, we lose our biggest talent in Europe, but we are using him in some way in America. So it's always a mixed feeling. So in this way, the operation have a sense also, because for him, it was like when at the beginning of the winter, he went there testing. I think it was really, really slow, the progression. He started trying to see where he was, how was his level. And then he was start pushing, and around him, the people that are used to being close to Supercross were like surprised, really surprised. And himself, he was really surprised. So this decision that was made probably 2 months ago, and now is out, the news is out, but was made at the end of the first attempt of training in California, while he understood that he could have he can have the potential to be there fighting for the top 5 probably positions. But then doing 3 races, it means, of course, really having the proof that you can do it. Because if you do 3 races, okay, injury apart, you do 3 races and you are around the 10th position, I think you may analyze again the situation and take a different decision for 2025. So for your entire career, if everything goes pretty well and pretty easy, because it will not push, is a smart guy. First of all, we have to understand Jorge is one of the smartest there. And so I think he will try to be away from problems and doing it in a smart way. So he will know if we put 60-70% of his potential and it comes out with the top 5, well, I think he can really program to go there and ending his career there. We saw many riders going there, probably even less talented than Jorge, and succeed. Like Dylan Ferrandis is the European rider that won most of every time in America. In Europe, it was always a really good rider, a super talented rider with a really special character, but not as Jorge. You know what I mean? So if Jorge is able to put all the pieces together there, with the way he is so smart, the way he is also, is someone that is a fucking bastard on track. It's not a guy who is there just doing his job. He knows what he wants and he's able to take it in one way or another one, being always correct, but playing mentally really strongly, really hard with his content. And like we saw this year with Febvre. And on the other hand, his technique, his rider technique is fantastic. The precision of his riding. Don't forget that he comes from trial, and he was probably the best trial rider, probably a little step behind Tony Boo or like Tony Boo. He was incredible when he was young. Then he decided to go to motocross, and he succeeded like not many are able to do. And now is the next step. So he can do it for sure. But doing this test, at the end, I had to reconsider my mind and to say, yeah, it's a smart thing. And if he gets injured, what everyone hopes no, it's a part of the work. Geyser was injured in Internazionale d'Italia and he lost his season for almost. Someone else was injured during a photo shooting in Spain and he lost the complete season. Someone else was during Paris Supercross in November and then he lost the complete season. I mean, injuries are a part of our job. We cannot take our decision based on the potential or the possibility to get injured. This decision was not made by just an idea or, oh man, I would like to do this without program. This decision is made after a long reflection, and it's a part of a long-term program. So yeah, I'm happy that he goes there for him. I'm a little bit sad for myself. I hope I'm able to go and look for him one race at least. I would like, honestly, to go to San Diego. That is one of my favorite towns in USA. And yeah, I hope for him and for the Period Mobility Group that everything goes well, because then it will be really exciting. And I think I will have one more reason to follow Supercross 2025.
Oh, absolutely, mate. It's really good insight and excellent thoughts there, mate, because, yeah, you obviously know him so well. You know the team framework around him so well. So, yeah, these decisions don't just get made in a rush. And, you know, they're really calculated, really thought out. And like we said, mate, all the best to him. And, you know, it's awesome to see him doing it. And it brings more exposure to MXGP as a byproduct because he is the world champion. Yeah. And if one rider can do it, it's pretty much him, isn't it, mate, with the technical gifts. He's so smart. He's intelligent. He's a safe rider too, isn't he, mate? He's so measured, doesn't crash much or doesn't really have any big crashes, and very disciplined and meticulous with his preparation. Like, he's so fit as well. So once he gets those few more weeks adaptation, mate, A1 will just be fascinating because it's really not far away, is it, mate? So we'll just watch that with interest, watch this space. And I think the whole world will be watching to see how that plays out, mate. And obviously the Coonan brothers are announced that they'll be staying in MXGP paddock for a little bit longer in MX2, which is a wise move. Yeah. Definitely a wise move from your decision, mate. Those boys have still got a lot of growth and a lot of sort of maturing to go before they sort of make that massive step, isn't it, mate? So that's a smart move. Keep them in the family, so to speak, with the KTM group. Superstars of the future. But yeah, I think they still need some time, don't they? And they've obviously recognized that. So good decision there too.
Yeah, yes, I agree. You know, I was, it's not a secret that I was talking a few years ago already to bring them to the Bedini team. It was a really difficult conversation with the father, I have to say. And he's a really nice person, but he knows really what he wants, and he knows that his sons have incredible potential. So he was really like pushing so hard to convince everyone to give to his boys the best possible bike, the best possible facilities, saying to everyone, yeah, we will do a couple of seasons here, then we go to America. That was the first sentence. That honestly, to me, it wasn't the smartest you can say, because then say, okay, why? So we do a big investment on you if you want to leave, and then you understand the potential of a brand like the Period Mobility Group that can say, okay, we take you, we invest in you, and then we will use your talent on the other side of the ocean. But that's possible only when you're a big factory, because when you're a small team or even a normal team, why you should invest so much in someone that will leave in next couple of years. But then when you start winning and you start doing well your job, I think it's more difficult to leave, you know, because like Jorge, he honestly, he won everything he could have won. So he feels that that's the next step to do. Someone like Vial didn't want to swap on the 450. So was the key to go to America. But the Coonan brothers, they didn't want anything till now. Not European 125, not European 250, no MX2 championship. So I think they still need to build up a little bit of career, and that's a smart way to do it. And then keep training sometime in Supercross at home, and then taking the decision at the right moment. Being world champion in MXGP today, I think, is the most difficult challenge you can approach on a motocross bike, because the level is so incredibly high that it's really the biggest challenge you can, and that's why I respect a lot the decision of Jorge, because he was just trying till he won, and then he won. He went away. He will going away. So I think it's a right decision from the Coonan brothers to stay a little bit more and then to see if it's possible to move to USA one day.
Yeah, excellently said, mate. Obviously, something to be said also for staying here and focusing on your craft of motocross, which is what you've done your whole career to get to where you are. So I guess sort of change a new discipline, it's a massive decision, and you really need to have everything in place before you make it. And yeah, it's a really good point about the KTM group giving the platform for the riders to move abroad and to do that sort of freedom within the platform there, because it's not, something that many teams or riders have the opportunity to do. So they're obviously very smart in their talent recruitment and how they manage everything. So great for the riders, but you got to give them credit for setting that whole system up too. So another sort of headline dominating, you can talk on that as well, but another sort of thing that's dominated the headlines, mate, the Ducati, Cairoli, Lupino, the big triple threat there, mate. Big announcement coming from them. It'll be fascinating to see what they have in store, and I'm sure you probably know more than most people, mate, in the English-speaking media. So your thoughts on that, mate? It's going to be fascinating seeing such a heavy-hitting brand like Ducati hitting the motocross world.
Honestly, that was the biggest news since I think 10 years to now, and even more probably, because when you see a brand like Ducati coming into motocross, that's something that is great for every one of us. I mean, it's great for the sport, it's great for Infront, it's great for media, it's great for everyone, and it brings up the level of the sport. That's even if they will not succeed, for example, or they will stay a few years only, it's a massive push for all the movement of off-road. We know for sure that the project is to do a good bike, a different bike compared to the others. And that's something where I think the story become more exciting, because using a Desmo engine in motocross, it never happened before. And would be interesting to see, for example, that the Desmo is an engine that runs a really high RPM, but really high RPM is not always the best for motocross. To get traction, but they for sure able to then put down this power on the ground and to transform it in traction. So it will be really, I think it's a different approach compared to many others. It's a different approach, and it's really interesting to see how they are doing it. For sure, like everyone is starting a new project, making comparison with all the bikes available on the market. Even the guys from Startvarg, they started like that, just buying all the motocross bikes available on the market and trying to take the best out of each project. That's, I think, was at the beginning the key, but then they decided to go by their own way and to do a product that will first of all fit the market, because it's not easy to sell motocross bikes today. You cannot do it honestly a copy of a KTM or a Honda, because you must give to your clients, to your customer, a reason why to buy that bike. And today, color and brand is not enough. So I think they decided to take the right decision to make a really high standard level bike. Probably will be the highest of the motocross market. So probably the price will be also at that level, but using only premium stuff on your bike, the best exhaust possible already on the standard bike, the best injection system available on the market, the best suspension available on the market. So I was concerned at the beginning. I was asking myself, what kind of suspension will they use? Because they use Öhlins on all the bikes they have on the market, and Öhlins is not involved in motocross since now probably 10 years. The last one to use it was probably Rinaldi team, but since then there's not development, there's not, so difficult to use a material that you use only with your bike, and then you have no comparison. Maybe Kayaba, because they use on the Desert X, the Kayaba, the bike come out with Kayaba. So it's possible that was already the first big step, I think. The Desert X is at the beginning of the history. There is the Desert X, because then they decided to go to Showa. Why? Probably because it's the premium stuff, to use for the production bike. So for selling, a bike with the premium components, you need a Showa super suspension. And that was a little bit the key. Then, of course, Showa, they have a lot of experience in motocross, in races, with Honda and with all the other teams they supply with, like Kawasaki. So that's why they there, and they decided to work with them. Of course, they will run with Pirelli, as all the production comes out with Pirelli. All the racing is with Pirelli, a part of MotoGP, where there's another brand that they have to use, that is Michelin. But for the rest, they have an agreement with Pirelli. With all the bikes that come out from production, they need to, they have Pirelli as first use. So I think that the project was made first for the market and not first for the racing. But as in the DNA of Ducati is always racing, they decided to make racing. The bike is running since 2 years, existing since 2 years, and going around since 2 years with test riders. What is amazing, because nobody knows nothing. And so they were really good on keeping everything secret. But this means also that there's not a choice made yesterday and without any programmation, there's a huge solid program behind, and everything was scheduled in the right way. I think they were trying everything, every kind of chassis, every kind of swing arm, every kind of suspension, till they got the right pack, with everything fixed. And still now, for example, the bike is running without the number plate, because whereas normally the number plate, there's a plate with all the sensor for the recording data. So that's telemetry at the highest level coming from MotoGP. And taking to motocross, there's plenty of testing, plenty of little things to fix that will require a lot of work. Not sure if they will be ready to race already at Internazionale Italia. I don't think. I think that it's a really small possibility, but there is still a possibility that we can see them with one bike, maybe Internazionale Italia, or the Italian Championship. Let's see if with both riders, Lupino and Cairoli. Of course, Tony is not there to be a rider, a proper racer, even if he's a racer on his brand, but he's there because I think he's looking for another challenge, a biggest challenge, being able to give your contribution to something that will remain in history forever. The first motocross, proper motocross Ducati bike, going to MXGP, going to Supercross, because don't forget that the program is mostly focused, a part of the production, so selling bikes, to go racing America more than MXGP, because the biggest platform today to sell bikes is America. So the focus is there. And that's even more exciting. Imagine Anaheim 1 with a Ducati on the 450 with maybe a top rider. Wow. That was just wow for me, and something that we were dreaming about. And similar somehow to the first KTM 450 that was, 350 at the time probably, that was at Anaheim 1 with in Supercross, racing in Supercross. So it's amazing, it's exciting, it's great. They had their first test all together, the team, the development team, and the two riders was in Sicily. Was on 30th of November, 1st December. They were going around in 2-3 different tracks. Good sensations, good feelings. There's a nice group of work with Madi staff and Ducati staff and the riders. Then Martino Bianchi is on the top of the program, not of the project, of course, because on the top of the project there are engineers. But on the top of the program, there's Martino Bianchi, with then this structure made by Marco and Corrado Madi. Tony and Alessandro are really like big friend, like for life. so that makes the job a little bit easier. And they went to Sicily. They went doing testing that were really positive. Of course, the key was not to make a good performance. It was to have a good feeling with the bike and to see how is the potential of the bike and what they can do for future, for close future to make it happen. What makes a big difference to me, but then it's only from outside because we know just a little part of the story, is the difference between the approach of Ducati and the approach of Triumph. That is way different. Triumph will not do any preseason race, so they will not compete in any of the preseason races. They will start Anaheim 1 in less than 1 month, straight, without any race done before. And they will start MX2 in Argentina on the 10th and 9th and 10th of March without any other races before. On the other hand, you have a brand like Ducati that will do probably a few races. They will do one Italian championship. They will try to see how is the story before being involved full time in MXGP and Supercross. So that's a kind of different approach. I'm surprised with Triumph to see that, for example, they used in Europe as a test rider, development rider, Clément Dessalles. Fantastic rider, the only one that never rode with an MX2 in his career. Okay, I was like surprised. Then maybe it's the good one that can give you really the perfect feedback. Huh? The Ducati bike was probably made mostly by Antoine Meo, that is an enduro rider and Dakar rider. So I won't say that it's a bad choice, but it feels strange to me that they put in the hand of the only rider that never did MX2 the development of an MX2 bike, and they will do straight races without any kind of pre-season races. But it's a choice, and we must respect this choice. And maybe they just ride and they have a fantastic bike, fantastic product, ready to race, to use the words of I'm not a manufacturer. It's always difficult. They found out this motto, ready to race is really the perfect one for fits to everyone, but you can use only with KTM. But anyway, part of the jokes, it's so amazing to see two big brands like that, not used to be motocross, not related by the history with motocross, approaching motocross. I was less positive than these few years ago for the future of our sport. I mean, not that our sport will disappear. That's of course. I know the potential we have and what they are doing to keep us alive and to keep us on top. But looking at those two big brands approaching motocross give us a lot of hopes for the future to all of us, the fans, all the people that works behind the scene and all the teams and the organizer. So it's a cool stuff.
Oh, absolutely, mate. Brilliantly said. There's so much great stuff in there for the fans to sort of enjoy and unpack from what you've just said, because I certainly learned some pretty cool stuff there about the bike being 2 years. That's quite a long time, mate. And obviously bringing guys in like Cairoli and Lupino just to sort of fast track, finalize everything, streamline the process, just that expertise and experience they have, that's priceless to them to be able to make that bike as good as possible. So really smart decisions being made, like you said, by them, and, transferring and implementing their knowledge from MotoGP and other forms of racing and their resources to sort of make a pretty formidable package once it's ready. I'm sure it'll be really ready, like you say, ready to race. That thing will be a weapon. And it's pretty important to remember that Tony still wants to ride. He loves riding. So does Alessandro Lupino. They love riding still and doing that. And they're pretty much best mates as well. So they'll be a pretty dynamic duo developing that bike too, won't they, mate? So I reckon that no stone unturned approach is going to pay off for Ducati.
Yeah, I think so. And for what concerned Tony, I think it wasn't an easy decision. Because we have to remember that since 21 years, Tony is living in Rome, is living with the De Carli family. He's not the rider of Claudio De Carli, he's almost his son. And Claudio and Ornella are almost his parents. But taking this decision was honestly a brave one, because he knew perfectly, as he's one of the smartest person I know. He knew perfectly that this decision will take him apart of this family and putting a little bit by the side. Of course, they still friends and they will still be friends forever, and that's will not change. But the involvement of Tony with the friends, with the family, with everything was so deep, is so deep, that taking this huge decision put everyone in a difficult situation. I think for Claudio, it's probably the worst one, as for him, Tony is like a son, but he cannot, for example, receive him anymore at home or at the team, as now is a rival. And it never happened in their history since the first GP ever of Tony. Whatever Tony had done was with Claudio. Everything he achieved was with Claudio. And I won't say that everything Claudio achieved was with Tony, because he achieved 3 titles with Jorge, 1 with Kiko Chiodi. So he did pretty well with other riders. So, but I think that a lot of things that today Claudio have are because of Tony, and because of this partnership that was magic, was something really I don't see around me in the past 20, 30 years something comparable to this. 20 years together, 9 titles, 1 GP of the nation, and long-term friendship, 1 race won at every year from the first to the last. It's incredible. It's massive, and of course, it's still there. It's not destroyed. It was not put in the waste. But turning this page was, wow, a big stuff to do. I think that this page was heaviest than anybody, even more than deciding to stop racing, because it will need time to, reorganize everything and find out new balance of everything: family, friendship, work, rivalry. So, but Tony is like that. Tony needed a new challenge. But many people ask me, but why didn't stay? Because then, it's okay, social media, I hate the just the haters and the shit storm that sometimes happen on the social media. But like I saw half of the people saying, KTM, they're so stupid, so silly to let him go away. They were not able to give him what he needed to have. And on the other hand, another part of the follower were like, Tony is really not grateful. He's a bad person. He need to be more, to give more reward to what KTM did for him and give it to him. It's not like that. It's not like that at all. The guy is a rider and he's a racer, but I think that KTM could do whatever to try keeping him happy and in the program, but wasn't this. He needed something different. He needed to turn the page. He needed to it was, I don't know how you say in English, but when you turn 18, you major and you start feeling this kind of feeling to go away from home and to build up your life by yourself. I think that for Tony was important to really have a challenge, a deep one, a huge one, a big one, and everything that you can put on the table, an Italian one, a legendary one, but doing something by himself and trying to see, I'm really able still to do something great, or I'm just now finished and I just need to go on with new stuff, but more quiet. This kind of adrenaline that goes into the veins of the rider at every weekend, at every time they jump on the bike. When you stop, you still need it. It's a kind of drug. It's a kind of really something that you need. And so as I said, Tony is one of the smartest people that I know, and behind him there is one of the smartest women that I know, that is Gilles, and that's the one that will probably be able to keep everything in one piece with the Carly, with the family, with the friends, because she's not only smart, but she do everything always for the best of Tony, for the best of everyone that is involved. But in the meantime, I think that for Tony it was really important to have this kind of new challenge, new desire of proving something. And he want to ride. He want to ride every day. It's in love with the bike. It's in love with doing his job. And what was not anymore loved by him was to going on the gate and to have every weekend the same routine. Doing practice, doing stuff, and being scheduled so strictly. Tony, just to give you an example, he had a few chances to try the road racing with the cars more than with the bikes. But he did also testing with Valentino Rossi Yamaha. He did testing with the KTM MotoGP bike. So, and his first impression at the end of the day was, oh, wow, braking fantastic, acceleration incredible, but so boring, because you need to be always on the same point at every corner, braking always there, open the throttle always at the right moment. There was no fantasy. And it was the same with the cars. It was racing with Lamborghini on track in Jerez de la Frontera, did pretty well, but was so boring for him. Rally, on the other hand, it's extremely exciting. It's fantastic. Why? Because you have to invent something new at every second. You have to resolve problem in thousands of seconds at every corner. And you have really to, build up something with your ability and with creativity, with fantasy, that's not question of being super precise, super good, this is not Tony. Tony is someone that is able to give his best while the conditions are worst. While he was winning the Rally Legend with the Lancia Delta, the mythic Delta Integrale of Mickey Biasion, or this time with Colin McRae Subaru, so another kind of legendary car. And you know why he did? He made the difference. He made the difference at every time the condition of the road were more difficult. With Lancia, while he won in 2016, if I'm not wrong, the first Rally Legend, he had a navigator next to him that was a proper navigator from rally since a long time. And he asked him how it was possible that in the complete fog, he was braking at exactly the right moment before turning into a corner that nobody could see. And he was giving the notes, of course, while the corner was coming. But then, you see if a driver goes into the corner perfectly as he see or as he feel, because the navigator is saying that there's a corner that you cannot see. So, and Tony said, while we passed 2 days ago, I saw a sign on the ground, a little sign on the ground, and I would take this as a reference. So while I saw the sign on the ground, I just turned the steer wheel and I made the corner. And the guy was like, oh my God. And they gained 3-4 seconds only in that corner compared to all the other professional rally rider. And he won against pro rally rider. But because that's his ability. So I think that what he needs to come back on the decision that he did is to make something new, super exciting, and a little bit to jump into something so new, but also to jump, in the empty, as we say in Italy, without any kind of protection wire behind him. This kind of feeling of really being free and to approach something that only you can do it in the right way. And I think that with his knowledge, he can bring to this project something enormous. And I think that the team and the brand, the manufacturer, they take him for this reason, because they know how much Tony can bring to them in terms of knowledge.
Yeah, well said, mate. That's awesome insight into, why he's such an awesome rider and why he's going to be so good at what he does, and just the way they see things, and, the sort of instincts and the invention and the sort of things that other people see. It's like we say with the soccer tactics. It's like, are you watching the game?
Yes.
But are you watching the game? It's like with Tony and the bikes, isn't it? He's just obviously
I think
got that little bit of extra, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think that the instinct, the word you used, is the perfect one, because Tony was driven on one side by instinct in his career, and on the other side he has Claudio De Carli, that was the kind of ratio, the brain that was. But Tony is super smart, but the instinct is so important for him, and to be able to just express this kind of instinct is it's fantastic, it's incredible, and is what he really need to be happy and to feel free, and that's it's not only pure talent, there is something more. I remember while I was writing his biography that maybe we will need another chapter with the Ducati history in a couple of years, who knows, but I remember that I was trying to analyze the start. At the time, Tony was a kind of Prado for the starts. It was always fantastic, but sometimes start doesn't come so well. But in fact, it was this kind of ability to being into the start at the top of the speed and seeing everything like in a slow motion. So while someone doesn't see nothing, like me, for example, I'm so excited, so confused in that moment that I don't see nothing. So I just maybe push in the corner, or just let the other pass because I'm scared. So those can be the two reactions. For him, everything goes slow. It's a kind of slow motion, while he's able to analyze at an incredible speed all the position of all the riders, where to put his bike, where really to be at the right moment, and then to cornering first. And that's a kind of ability that only few have. And Tony is this. He's pure instinct from one side, and on the other side is so incredible, smart, that he can think everything and analyze everything is around him.
Yeah, it's so true what you say, mate. And even though it's sort of a venture into the unknown, it's just a really exciting time for him and a great asset he's set to be for Ducati. And like you said, mate, those intangible characteristics, you can't teach them. They're impossible to teach. They're just so invaluable. So yeah, that's what Tony's, that's what his career's been, a big testament to it, just having those attributes that make him such an awesome rider and a great competitor, and why he's been so successful. And yeah, definitely going to see more success coming his way, mate. It'd be really cool to see the journey of Ducati and Tony and Lupino as well, mate, and all the team associated with that project. So we'll watch this space. And a couple more before we let you go, mate. Obviously, would love to hear your thoughts on a couple of Italian riders. Obviously, Guadagnini in the same family, but switching to the Husqvarna. Mate, obviously made some great strides last year on the gas in the 450. Pretty much since he's moved up, he's made some pretty good strides, but he was especially making those great strides, that Spanish podium, and then obviously the injury sort of curtailed his season quite a lot, and he obviously never got back to where he was. But expecting big things from him this year, obviously changing the program up. Still expect him to have a lot of fun and just enjoy himself, maybe a little bit less so, being based probably more in Belgium than Italy. So we'll watch how he adapts to that. But yeah, he's always great for the sport. Really good guy to get the fans engaged and involved, and just a really good promoter of MXGP in general. And obviously just the news this week dropped that officially Ferrato finally confirmed for standing construct, and all the signs were that he was going to stay with KTM for most of this year, weren't they, mate? So really great pickup, the standing construct to get Ferrato. Obviously he's mixing it up with Hurling's, passed him many times in qualifying and racing. He's very comfortable in that top section of guys. Probably should have come away with an overall podium for sure. Really awesome rides in the end of the season there. So yeah, those two guys, your thoughts on them, mate? It'd be really cool to see them battling it up, and why not? They should be able to get more podiums for sure.
Yeah, first of all, I'm happy for both of them, of course, because they deserve good ride. For Mattia, the change is huge. It's the hugest he could do because he's moving from one bike to another that is for sure really similar, but in a complete different team, complete different ambient, but still close to his old family, his old team. So I'm pretty sure that he can do pretty well. It's maybe what he needed to, make the next step, because sometimes when you are too much in comfort with everything, it's difficult to express yourself at the best of your possibilities. So sometimes athletes need to be a bit more in an uncomfortable zone, we'll say, to then express themselves with a kind of different rage, a kind of different hunger, because Mattia, basically, as I told you many times, it's one of the most special person in the paddock. He's a really smart guy, really sensitive. It's a kind of really special character that is not difficult to find in such a ambient. And I really like the way Mattia is and Mattia express himself. But I think that this kind of challenge, being in Belgium with his mechanic, that is also nice that they still together in this new challenge, can bring him something different, something new, and it's a kind of new challenge to afford. So I'm pretty sure that he will do well. It was so nice yesterday. He showed to everyone his new helmet. So the white Husqvarna Red Bull helmet, super cool. But the most nice thing is behind the helmet, there is a kind of little paper, really little yellow paper, like the one the note that you put on the fridge, and with a draft from Chase Cairoli, and is the bike with 101. So it's Mattia riding, seen by Chase Cairoli. And this says a lot about the character of Mattia, that is always looking for something special, something different, something more kind, more nice. And I really like this way. So I really hope that he's able to succeed. For the sport is great, because finally we have again an Husqvarna 450 factory on the field, and that's honestly really, really important, because we need all the factory bikes, 450 at the gate. For what concerns Alberto, the situation is a little bit different. I think he was trying to remain with the KTM group, and honestly, I don't understand why KTM didn't give him the chance to ride the factory bike as he was doing this year, but in a factory team. To me, he could fit perfectly there. He showed that the performance are very good. He showed that he's able to do it very well. And I hope I'm not wrong. To me, I feel that the KTM suits him a little bit better than the Honda. With his physique, his characteristic, how big he is, how tall he is, how heavy he is, this bike maybe can suits him a little bit better than a Honda. I saw like Brian Bogus riding with KTM, then switching to a Honda was a nightmare season. So I really hope that Alberto, with this strength, this force, is able to go on top of the results and to bring this bike where deserve to be, because the bike is a really good bike. We saw the beginning of the season last year, with Brent Van Donnick, with Paul Jonas while he wasn't injured, with many riders at the beginning of the season were performing very well. What it means that the bike, as we know, is a good bike. Alberto started his racing history with Honda. 2013, I remember him in the Honda 150 European Trophy, competing alongside with other riders and ending his first season in the second place behind a certain Filippo Grigoletto that was winning and then a little bit disappeared. And don't forget that this championship was then the championship where in 2017 Andrea Adamo was winning, and then Emil Weckmann also was there. I saw yesterday that few years in between Alberto and Andrea, there was, for example, Rick Elzinga competing one race and doing pretty well, but with a Honda 150. So it's amazing to see how many young talents were just going around that little championship. And then he was moving into EMX 250, and he was doing it with Honda, with Asso Motor, and then he moved into MX2, and then he was building his career in MXGP, starting from like 18th, then 11th, and then this year 7th, doing better. So I think that he's at his best potentially. I really like Alberto, and I feel that he's a fantastic person. And but when you see in a championship, Geyser, Prado, Herlings, Seaware, I honestly don't see him fighting for the title. But that's to be really honest. But as you said, perfectly said, this year was the only one that was able to challenge with the same bike Jeffrey Erlings in few occasions. He was even able to pass him back and to go away, what is not common. So the potential of Alberto is fantastic. And I hope that he can just feel good with this bike, feel good with this team that is really professional, and being always there at the top to just confirm again himself in the top 10 at the end of the championship.
Yeah, those two guys, watching how their seasons play out will just be awesome, mate. And yeah, cheers again for that awesome insight there, mate. Couple more, obviously, the Beta, Watson and Monticelli will form a pretty cool team. Lots of fun to be had there. Evo's obviously making the step back to MXGP full-time. I think he sort of did that British Championship stint and he was ready to sort of come back to the world scene. So that's a really good opportunity for him, and I'm sure he'll be grasping that with both hands. On his day, he's a, top 10 runner for sure, mate. If he's happy, the bike's good. So we'll see how that plays out in their next sort of stage in their development, Beta. And obviously Fantic under the Vosters ownership, I guess, kind of partnership there. And obviously Rowan van der Moostoke making a step into MXGP, and Glenn Coldenoff is a great pickup, experience, great knowledge of everything from bike to fitness, on, off, everything. He's just a master at sort of preparation, isn't he, Glenn? So he should be pretty primed come March. Lots of time before then. Obviously, they're already going through their paces. You see them doing the big cycles, mate. So those guys are just fitness machines. So watching those two teams, sort of how their seasons play out and where they sort of fit in on those programs will be another pretty interesting sight, because obviously making it inside the top 20 is going to be quite the challenge when everyone's fit in MXGP, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really a challenging year because so many riders, so many talents, so many everything. For what concerns the Beta, I was a little bit, I would say not disappointed because it's not the right word, but surprised by the performance of Ben, as I was really hoping that he could do it better with a beta. And sorry for the joke, but it's a rider that I always was looking around for being more performing. And was able in MX2 with Yamaha to do some proper races while he was working very well. Now I don't know. It feels strange to see him. Sometimes it looks like a little bit scared to ride or to, I don't know. So it's a shame because Ben is really a good one, and he's a good person. He's a good character. He's a nice person, really. So I hope that he can have a better season than this one. It will have fun, that's for sure, because with Monticelli, everyone have fun. Both they were teammate of Romain Febvre, and both they were few of the only good teammates of Febvre, as the other one always struggled with him a little bit. But in this case, Febvre and Monticelli, they had a lot of fun together. And Febvre always said that Monticelli was really, really a good teammate. And the same was with Ben. So it's curious just to see both ex-teammates of Febvre together. This will bring a little bit more fun for Ben, I think, this year. But he showed that he was really able to switch to the Italian mode and able to really enjoy the Italian life and the Italian way of being. So I'm curious to see how it goes with Ivo. Happy that Ivo was able to find back a seat for the full season in MXGP, as he deserves. As a good rider, as a good guy, is training well, and he's a really good talent. So I hope that the bike can fit him well. And but as you said, it will be challenging, as it will be really challenging for Glenn and for Rohan with the Fantic to being always in the top 10, because the top 10 is really packed. As we the names that are coming out are so many. Glenn, we know for sure that he's probably the most maniac training guy in MXGP, is perfect on everything. He's always really, careful of everything, and that's really nice from him and really good from him. So it's I hope that they can succeed with the program. The bike is probably not so different from a Yamaha MXGP, so they will find probably the footstep easily without big problems. It will be nice to see what Rohan is able to do at his first season in MXGP. As I said last year many times, his body's ready for the 450. He's a tall guy, big guy, probably performing better with the 450 than with the 250. I mean, feeling better just on a 450 than on a 250. So it's interesting to see. It's important to see, as I said, that all the two 450 factory are on the field, because now we start counting and the number of factory 450 on the field, it's impressive. It's just impressive. We will have 2 Kawasaki, 2 Honda, 1 KTM, 1 Gas, 1 Husqvarna, 2 Beta, 2 Fantic. So it's wow, it's just we are counting like this. We're talking about 11 bikes. Then we have 2 Yamaha factory bikes, 13 factory 450, waiting for a Triumph, waiting for a Ducati, or maybe 2 Ducati, 2 Triumph, waiting maybe for one day, 2 KTM or 2 Gas. So it's honestly really, really impressive. And we have to give credit of this to Infront, to the work that they have done. Because every time that there is someone that is investing in your sport, it means that you're doing your job probably. So we are really critics sometimes, not against, but with Infront, with FIM. But if today the manufacturer are investing so well in our sport, is because there is a reason why, and we have to give credit to Infront and to FIM for this, because it's they are bringing the level really probably higher than it ever was.
Yeah, it's absolutely stacked, the class, mate. Well said. It's pretty amazing, isn't it? And obviously, final thoughts, mate, before I let you go, because we've already clocked over an hour. The time's just flown again. But some pretty fascinating storylines. Obviously, Jeremy Sear on the Kawasaki, Belandrin and Yago on the factory Yamaha team, alongside Renault, who will be looking for a massive year. Probably put himself in title contention. He'll feel that he's a title contender for sure, because he's an absolute competitive beast in that hurlings mode. And then obviously a fully fit and firing Geyser will be fascinating to have him if he can stay fit for the full season. And then obviously Fernandez will be looking to build on a pretty impressive sort of uplift in consistency with his year, obviously winning the opener. So yeah, there's so many guys in there. You could just run through the list and you could be here forever, really, couldn't you, mate? And obviously Bogas and Gilbert, there's just so many guys. Paul's Jonas, if he can stay fit, he can do some serious damage. So, and then obviously watching guys like we said with Yago, Kevin Horgmo and Jan Pansar moving up alongside Van der Moosdijk. So there's a lot going on there, mate. So take a pick at a couple of them, mate, and then we'll wrap this one up.
Wow, that would be a difficult one. I would say rookie of the year for me easily can be Yago, as he showed already that he was able to do fantastic stuff with the 450 at Red Bud 2 years ago. So to me, Yago can be easily the rookie of the season, and I think he's someone that can really fight for the podium since the beginning, and that's something really huge for a kid that comes from MX2. For what concerns the others, is so difficult. I hope to see good battles. I think that for sure team is in a key season, while it will need to prove that he's still able to fight for a title compared to all the youngsters. For sure he is. The speed is there. When the talent is, of course, never gone. The speed is back there. And I'm really curious to see him again contending the victory. I think that is maybe the last opportunity for Romain to be a title contender, a serious title contender. Last year was astonishing what he did. And if he can keep this momentum, it would be honestly probably the most challenging guy for Jorge, that as a world champion running with a number one, what is a kind of another challenge in the challenge, because we know that in the past this number one was not so lucky to many. And then, really curious to see for what concern Jeffrey Erlings, what he's able to do, because Jeffrey he showed also this year that he was able to being, I would say, way faster than anybody else. But in the meantime, he's so fragile that a little mistake just bring him down to nightmare again, like he did a couple of times this year. So it would be a kind of key season to understand if the old guard, like the old guys, and old, it's a big word when we are talking about Geyser, Erlings, and Febvre. But of course, there's a difference of age with Febvre, the oldest, and Erlings than Geyser. But if those guys are still able to really compete and challenging for the title, the new one, on the other hand. So Prado, Fernandez, Gertz, and all the youngster. So it's a kind of battle of generation, I would say, this year. It has always been like that in past. I mean, of course, while Tony or the Sal or Polen were getting older, and the new generation of Geyser and Prado and blah, 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 they were coming up. So it's always like that. But it's a kind of season where kind of things can happen. So eyes open on MXGP class, because it can be really, really interesting.
Awesome, mate. Yeah, and just before we let you go, any final thoughts, mate? What are the plans for the next couple of weeks, next couple of months? Obviously, plenty of preparation for the new season with all you're doing, and just tell the fans they can obviously follow you on Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff, mate. So give yourself a shout out there too.
Yeah, I mean, I need to, now it's the moment of the season while I'm focused mostly on building my physical base, so trying to train really hard to be most performing during the season, and trying to be ready for fighting for the victory. So that's the moment to build up the condition, and then keep the momentum till the end and be consistent. That's the key always. That's what a rider will say. I'm feeling like not an athlete, of course, but doing an entire season is a kind of competition, I can tell you. So it's the moment of resting, honestly, enjoying a little bit of family time, take a little step back, but still with one eye on what is happening behind the scene. And yeah, we will see next what bring next year.
Yeah, mate. Thanks again for taking the time. And obviously, you'll be flying at the test track in no time for sure, mate, as they all say at this time of year. So, yeah, thanks again for joining us. I know it's been a massive year, and we really appreciate you coming on again, mate. Before I let you go, we'll thank AS3 Performance Parts, the home of aftermarket motocross and enduro parts, from hardware and protection parts, including skid plates and radio braces, to performance cooling parts such as silicone radiator hoses and oversized impeller kits. AS3 also have a huge range of brake, clutch, and gear levers, all with different features and adjustability. Check them out online. Also, big shout outs to Kawasaki Motors UK. Obviously, the KLX 140R range, which has been pushing this year, and obviously the KX 450, the new one that we've just dropped. There's a review on MX Vice website and the YouTube channel by Brad Wheeler, our tester. So everyone encourage you to check that out. And also, before we wrap this one up, big shout out to Whole Shop Motorhomes for jumping on board to sponsor the upcoming podcasters too. Check them out online. Check them out on our website. And there's a YouTube video explaining the awesome Commander motorhome they have there. So thanks again to all the sponsors and all the listeners for sponsoring these and making these happen, as well as thanks to Lorenzo for jumping on, mate, to giving up your valuable time. So all the best, mate. We look forward to speaking next time.
Thank you, mate. Thank you, Ed. And keep for the next year something new. Ciao, mate.
No worries, mate. Thanks again. Have a good one.